Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to my next The 5 list I'm going to present to all of you here on YouTube. And today is going to be the second half of the dual list of the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite DLC lists. I've already done a Marvel list. This time is the 5 Capcom characters that should be DLC and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. If you haven't seen the Marvel list, I would suggest you go check that out. I give my opinion on 5 interesting characters from the Marvel Universe I feel should be in that game. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I'd love you to just see that list for yourself and check it out and see who I put in there. This one, however, is going to be a list on the Capcom side, which I'm iconic for Marvel, and I love Marvel superheroes and all that too. But when it comes to the Capcom games, I grew up playing a lot of classic Capcom games, playing a lot of Capcom games from the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1, the N64, the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, and everything else like that. So for me, this list is probably more personal. I grew up with Marvel, and Marvel I love a whole heck of a lot, and I'm very close to Marvel as well. But this list is just a bit more personal because I grew up loving video games a whole heck of a lot, and a lot of the video games I loved were Capcom games when I was growing up. So, yes. So I've already done my Marvel list, and those characters, especially that last one, I'm not going to tell you who it was, are really close and iconic and close to my heart and want them to be in this game, and I love them so much, and they're such great characters. But this list is for the Capcom side. Let's get this list started with the 5 Capcom characters that should be DLC in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And I'm going to start off with one that is a returning character that a lot of people wanted in this game because it was just to be a reboot of the franchise. And he's been in the series, not in every single entry. He was in the first one, the second one. He's from a classic arcade beat-em-up game that got ported to the Super Nintendo, and he had entries about himself before then. And that goes to Captain Commando. Come on, Capcom. How could you forget this guy? His name is literally based off the name of your company. Look at that. Captain Commando goes Capcom. Captain Commando, Capcom. He was originally your mascot, for those of you who don't know. Captain Commando was intended to be the mascot of Capcom before Mega Man came around. And he wasn't always looking like Mr. Superhero Robot Guy. He was more like punk, character. He looked a lot more like that old Burger King or Kids Meal thing or whatever with the cool dude. I remember looking at art styles for this guy when I was doing research for an assignment in school before, because I did a website on a Nintendo versus Capcom thing, so I had to do biographies on some of these characters, and I found some interesting information about him. He was supposed to be your mascot, and he was in the first 2 Marvel vs. Capcom games. He was in an awesome 80s arcade beat-em-up game by the name of Captain Commando. And it was ported to the Super Nintendo, which is where I played it, and it's one of the best beat-em-ups on the system besides Final Fight. So, how could he be forgotten? Everyone practically wants him. He'd be such a cool fighter. He's a returning veteran character. He's iconic. He's legendary. Your characters, Capcom. He'd be a fist fighter, robot superhero dude. He basically would be like Captain America if he took away the shield and just punched people. And he just looks freaking sweet as hell. Come on, how can you forget freaking Captain Commando? I want him because I loved the game growing up. A lot of people want him, probably because of the same reason. They probably grew up playing the game. And he is such a wanted character. How could you have forgotten him on the roster? If you forgot him on the base roster, it's a chance for you to make up for it in DLC, Capcom. You're already technically bringing back Venom and all that. So if you're bringing back a classic character like Venom, how can you forget Captain Commando? A lot of people want him. Like I said, he's popular. He has an interesting moveset. He's like a superhero fist-fighting robot dude. So it'd be different. He doesn't have a moveset from anyone else in Capcom, in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite right now. And he has a distinct look to himself, and you can always throw in his classic look for it. Or characters based off like Baby Commando or Ninja Commando, based alternate costumes. He's highly sought after, and he's the most obvious choice for a veteran character to bring back. That's my first one. My second one goes to Regina from Dino Crisis. And for those of you that don't know what Dino Crisis is, take Resident Evil, throw out the T-Virus zombies, and put in freaking dinosaurs that are trying to kill you. It's the exact same type of game, except you're trying to survive dinosaurs and not zombies. And it was a pretty fun series. I've only really played the original. I never played. There was a second one on PlayStation 1, I think. Oh, no, the second and third one were actually on PlayStation 2. and it just got better. I think the first two, I think, as far as I remember hearing, the third one a lot of people didn't like, but the first two people loved, as far as I remember. But like I said, I've only played the original, and it's like it's one of your missing franchises, Capcom. A franchise that you could easily bring back with the popularity of putting Regina in something like a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. She'd have such an interesting moveset. She basically has like an electric blade sword. She does guns, so she basically would be like a Jill or a Chris or whatever. You know, one of the Resident Evil characters. Just take out their ability to summon zombies and have her summon dinosaurs. And their ultimate attack would be summoning a giant T-Rex to come in and bite down on the opponent and, like, and just beat them. She summons a dinosaur that's trying to attack her, but attacks her opponent instead, and then she starts slicing them apart with the electric sword or something like that. You can go crazy balls to the wall with an ultimate attack because it's freaking dinosaurs. Who doesn't like dinosaurs? A lot of people like Jurassic Park and whatnot, so probably the reason why he made the series too, because in the 90s, that was like one of the most popular movie franchises in the 90s. But it's like, it's time to bring back Regina. A lot of people are asking for it. I'm surprised that Dino Crisis hasn't even been included in a single Marvel vs. Capcom game at this point, given that it was such an iconic franchise throughout the days of the first two Marvel vs. Capcom games. I can understand maybe not three, but now it's like you said, Marvel vs. Capcom is supposed to be a reboot. So bring back some of your classic older characters from the PlayStation 1 era, the Super Nintendo era, the GameCube era, PlayStation 2, all these past older characters. A lot of people want to see Regina. She's a popular character for a franchise that has had popularity. It just kind of doesn't have it now because it's not around anymore. A lot of people, she has the original moveset of guns with her little electric blade thing and summoning dinosaurs. What more can you ask for? It's a character that she'd be one of the most badass female characters in this game. She'd be tackling Chun-Li and Gamora in terms of badassery. Come on. Regina from Dino Crisis. Now this is a character I really want. He's not the most requested character in the fan base, but I've seen people asking for him, and people do like the character, but it's especially more of a personal one on this list. And that goes to the Scorpion from Saturday Night Slam Masters, or if we're going by his Japanese name, he's called the Astro. He's based off one of the most popular. He's based off, I forgot the exact wrestler it was, but he's based off one of the most popular wrestlers from Japan back in the day, a masked wrestler. And he's kind of based off like some of the WCW, like as far as I was looking this character up. He's based off like one of these masked wrestlers from WCW, an old school Japanese classic wrestlers. I forgot exactly what the name was, but I think it might be in the Great Sasuke or Great Muda or something like that. I'm trying to remember who he was based off of, but he's a wrestler that wears a mask, does basically Mexican, Japanese style wrestling, and he does electric attacks. I love Saturday Night Slam Masters. I've already talked about this in a list before for fighting games on the Super Nintendo. I grew up with it because this is basically what kind of got me into liking wrestling in the first place, was Capcom. You got me into wrestling, basically. And there was a lot of cool characters on that game. There was the Great Oni and Gunlock and Biff Slamkovich and Victor Ortega and stuff like that. But the Scorpion was, in my opinion, the coolest character in that game. It's a masked wrestler that does electric attacks and just can kick your ass. And he's has a badass look. You can call him the Astro all you want, but I would personally like him to call it the Scorpion. But I understand if you can't do it because of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat or something, even though it has the word "the" in the front, so it makes it so much different. I don't really care. But put him in there. Like, you have Mike Hagar from Final Fight. He was in Saturday Night Slam Masters. Can you please remember some of your classic franchises, Capcom? I've already talked about freaking Captain Commando and Regina from the old school days of your games. The Scorpion would like to make a return, and it's a bad guy. It's a villain representation. He was like one of the main bad guys in there. He was a heel wrestler. He was a bad guy from that era, from that franchise. So it's a bad guy to add to the list. He's a bad guy heel wrestler that he does kind of like Mexican, Japanese style, high flying lucha libre type moves, and he can shock you with electricity. So take Blanca's electricity and throw it on a Japanese wrestler type guy, or I forgot where he's from. He's from Japan or Mexico or something. I'm not entirely sure. But he was such a cool character. He has such a badass look, and he would just have a really interesting moveset because we don't have any wrestlers really in the game yet. Besides Mike Hagar, who does some wrestling moves, but he's more of a street fighting type character that swings around a metal steel pipe. How he'd be so much different. His difference would be his electric attacks. Please, Capcom, the Scorpion. Now we get to a character that's a little more obscure, but people want the character, and there's different variations on the character because the franchise has different variations of the character by the same name, and that goes to Nina from Breath of Fire, specifically Breath of Fire 3. Nina, because I'm not really familiar so much with the franchise, but I see a lot of people saying we need a Breath of Fire character. We need a Breath of Fire character because it is one of Capcom's most iconic RPG franchises, and the main character's name is basically Ryu. So I understand maybe why the confusion of not putting Ryu in there because we already have Ryu from Street Fighter, and there's even no matter what Ryu you pick, it would be a confusing name solution. So how about you put in the secondary main character in that franchise, Nina? And I think the one from Breath of Fire 3 fits the most because, well, I think she looks like she's more of a fighter. There's some of them that don't really look like they could be fighters. She's the one that looks like she could especially be a main fighter. And she has like all her angel wings and special magic attacks and whatever. And she'd be so diverse from the cast. And it'd be another franchise, Capcom, that you're bringing back. Like there's so many franchises that you have that either have been in Marvel vs. Capcom before and then they disappeared later on. And then ones that have never been in there in the first place. And it's like, a lot of the Capcom franchises in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite now are ones that are still around and still talked about and known to this day. But you can use this as a platform to get some of these franchises known. And we can see remakes and sequels for these franchises. People would like to see a return of Breath of Fire. And everyone wants to practically see a Breath of Fire character in Marvel vs. Capcom. I just picked Nina because I think the name confusion for Ryu would be kind of awkward. And you could still get an original moveset out of her because she's basically a magic user and she has like angel wings. This one especially at least does. Although I think all of them really do. They're all kind of based off the same thing. And it's like, she just is iconic. And I understand maybe, okay, you want to pick a different version of Nina. I don't really care. I just picked the Breath of Fire 3 one because she kind of stands out the most as a fighter type than the rest. But you could pick Breath of Fire 1, Breath of Fire 2, Breath of Fire 4, whatever. But it's like, I picked this one specifically. You can pick any version of Nina you want, but this is the one I think fits better with the fighting game of, Marvel vs. Capcom. So the Nina from Breath of Fire 3 specifically. And the final one. Because outside of the Scorpion and Captain Commando are two characters I really want, this character is tied with them as well. And it's not just a personal choice. Everyone practically wants him. And it's from a franchise that it's one of your newer franchises that you... It's one of your newer franchises that at least is variously popular. It has an anime series based off it too. And he'd be so diverse. And that goes to Masamune Date from Sengoku Basara. He was rumored, when they were talking about the rumors for this roster, he was rumored and everyone was hyped for it. A lot of people wanted to see him, thought he'd be a cool choice. Sengoku Basara is a really popular franchise, game-wise and anime-wise. He would have a diverse moveset. He uses 6 samurai swords. He is a samurai with 6 swords that just goes around the battlefield just destroying everyone. How could you not have him in there? Sengoku Basara is a franchise just like Dino Crisis, just like Breath of Fire, just like Saturday Night Slam Masters, and just like Captain Commando Returning, that deserves representation in your crossover fighting game with Marvel Capcom. He'd be so... I understand more people think that some of the characters from Onimusha would be better samurai characters to add, and I know that Onimusha is more iconic than Sengoku Basara, but I think a more diverse samurai to have would be Masamune Date because of him having 6 swords, and he basically does dragon attacks and all these crazy anime attacks, which makes sense when you're fighting people like Nemesis, or Chris, or Captain America, or Thor, or Spider-Man, or Doctor Strange, or any of the characters in this game, because the entire thing is about these crazy wacky superheroes and villains and crazy monsters and weirdos and knights and everything just coming together and colliding. Give us a samurai character, and that samurai character is Masamune Date from the Sengoku Basara series, because he would be so diverse and have such a crazy moves that he'd fit right the hell into it. And I think the series, just like Dino Crisis and all that, and Breath of Fire, deserve to be in Marvel vs. Capcom at this point. And I'm surprised that they aren't. And the rumors, especially when people are hyped for the rumors, and I see people recommending him all the time. He is when I see characters recommended for DLC or characters that were, when Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was announced, characters that people wanted to see in the game, he was one of the ones highest up on the list. People want to see characters. It might not be Masamune Date. You could pick Yukimura Sanada or Nobunaga Oda or whoever the hell you want. But I think he would be, because he feels to me like he's the face of the franchise, even though he's not really. Yukimura Sanada technically is, but He's as close to it as Sonata is, and he has a very diverse moveset. 6 swords, crazy anime attacks. Put your guns on! Come on, people. Come on, Capcom, Disney, Marvel. This is the Capcom character to add. If you're not going to add Scorpion, you're not going to add Captain Commando, which are my 2 most wanted characters besides him on the Capcom side, my top 3, alongside Masamune Date, please put Masamune Date in. He would be such a fun character to play as. It'd be like the Monster Hunter on crack. Come on. And that's my list, people. For the 5 Capcom characters I want to see as DLC in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And they are Captain Commando. Bring him back, please. Regina from Breath of Fire. The Scorpion from Saturday Night Slam Masters, or you can call him the Astro for all you want. Nina from Breath of Fire 3. And frickin'